So we were going to talk about Marc Trestman. Now, obviously, last year you heard about him maybe going into the NFL, and he was interviewed, and Pop was interviewed, and then Trestman signs a long-term deal, and everyone thinks it's a done deal. Well, now his name is once again circulating out there, and specifically with a couple of teams. And we had on Sunday, we had ESPNChicago.com's Mike C. Wright on the program. Here's what he had to say about Marc Trestman.
And it's weird because Bears fans were just killing him, and I'm like, no, you need to take a really close look at Marc Trestman's resume. I mean, this is a guy that got Rich Gannon in 2002 to play at an MVP level. You know, he's had Steve Young. You know, he's had Bernie Kosar. We can go back to the 80s, 85, 86. He had Bernie Kosar. So the majority of his resume has been rooted in the NFL. Now, to me, the fact that he's gone to the CFL, I think it's actually helped him because, you know, obviously, you know, the rules are different. The field dimensions, things like that are different. So he's had to adapt and coach that style of football. And by being able to adapt, that shows me that, you know, you can adapt to whatever talent you have around you, whatever team you go to. And, you know, another big thing, and I was joking about this, but I really think it's serious. You know, in the CFL, you've got 3 downs to make it happen. You know, in the NFL, you got 4. So, you know, maybe that helps him offensively in the NFL when he comes back, if he comes back. So, you know, I would be excited to see Marc Trestman in the NFL. And, I mean, he seems like a very intelligent guy. I mean, he's got a law degree, and he's coached at all kinds of places, consultant. He's done everything, man. So I would love to see him get a shot in the NFL.
There you go. That was Mike C. Wright from ESPNChicago.com. Any thoughts on his thoughts?
Well, according to the reports that I've received, I mean, a lot of people are looking at Marc Trestman more as an OC than as a head coach here. Now, Dwight Walton, who does a lot of basketball work for TSN Radio 690, made a great point to me. He goes, unless he has a Mike Tomlin-like interview where he wows the Pittsburgh Steelers in that case that Tomlin was in, or the Bears or the Browns in this scenario here, he could get the head coaching job if he's impressing the guys. And Mary Kay Cabot of the Cleveland Plain Dealer wrote an article just now about the Trestman interview, saying he was there for 9 hours at the Browns facility, whereas everyone else who's been interviewed by the Browns has done it in Arizona. So really, he's definitely won over some people in Cleveland, and it's definitely caught the eye. And one guy to keep an eye out, as he made the point, Bernie Kosar, who was coached by him in Miami, but also does work very closely with the Browns here, who does have a close connection to the Browns' upper management in suggesting players or coaches. And this is why you look at Marc Trestman, he could get that look from the Browns.
As an OC or as a head coach?
As a head coach, because Bernie Kosar could definitely plant the seed saying, listen, guys, he's a guy that can make wonders out of a lot of people. Brandon Whedon was coached by Trestman in the lead-up to the NFL draft last year.
Wow.
So there are some connections out there where he could definitely make some magic here. And this personnel, young, energetic guys who can fit the office that he wants to employ if he goes back to the NFL.
Yeah, I know the Browns personnel was out in Arizona courting Chip Kelly from the University of Oregon, so I wonder how much of that had to do with Trestman ending up going back to Cleveland and spending a lot of time at the facility. But some of the points that were brought up a year ago after he signs the extension, that he wants to stick around here, that he feels more comfortable in the CFL. I'd like to see him end up in a place like Chicago. I think he's a hard-nosed guy. You know, he treats his players with respect, but also he's not going to let you toe the line. You know exactly where you stand with Marc Trestman, and I think that could work in a hard-nosed city like Chicago where the fans also expect that from their head coach, and they don't want the head coach to be the best friend of the players. They want him to be that mentor figure and that authority figure, and I think that could help in a place like Chicago. But, you know, for Cleveland, I don't want him to go there because I think it's too abysmal of a situation. And I think
it's Cleveland.
Yeah, I think he could fail too easily there.
See, I disagree. I think that Chicago, Cutler is just too polarizing and too inconsistent and too much pressure. I think if you go to Cleveland, the expectations are so damn low. He comes in and goes 8-8. He looks like the savior. Not only that, but as Mo mentioned, the Trent Richardsons, the Brandon Whedons, the linebackers is escaping me right now. Jackson, but Joe
Hayden is the corner.
Excuse me. Yes. I mean, they have such interesting pieces there in Jacksonville. Obviously, Cribbs as well. So, I mean, it seems like a really cool place for him to. You mentioned the connection with Kosar, and
And his wife, Cindy's, Marc Trestman's wife, Cindy's from Cleveland. As
I mean, come on. I mean, is there really, unless the owner happens to be his cousin, there's really no other better way that this could be a connection for him and a fit for him.
You look at the doomsday scenario for the Alouettes. They could lose Jim Pop, Marc Trestman in the next 2 weeks, whatever it is, but also they could lose Marcel Desjardins, who's being courted by the Ottawa CFL franchise. The Owls could conceivably have no one in
this
personnel.
Just in, Moe Khan coaching the CFL's Montreal Alouettes.
Could very well be coaching Anthony Calvillo, but this could be a doomsday scenario for the Alouettes in the next week and a half if all three guys were to take
I say they
jobs.
bring Lamar Levy in, 88 years old. That's what I think.
You mentioned Anthony Calvillo, and this is something that I've heard as well, and I don't expect Anthony to ever do something like this, but if everybody leaves and he says, well, this is not the coaching staff that I thought I was coming back to, maybe he walks away.
The funny part is Nick Lewis of the Calgary Stampeders tweeting me that question about 2 hours ago. We were conversing through Twitter, asking me, do you think Calvillo would stay if Trestman and Pop were to leave? And that's a good question. I think he would, because he would honor his contract that he signed with the Alouettes, believing in this organization here. But the feeling I get with people I've spoken to in the CFL is that they believe Marc Trestman or Jim Pop, one of the two, will get NFL job at some point and will take that NFL job moving ahead here.
And rightfully so.
And I agree. And I think people are very high on Jim Pop and Marc Trestman as future NFL guys.
It is Game Points here on TSN 690 as we wind down the program. One more segment to come. Hockey talk again. John Hoven from mayorsmanor.com covering the Kings out on the West Coast. Should be a good one. Stay tuned.